As it is said that democracy thrives not just on votes, but on voices that are fearless, informed, and articulate. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is with pleasure that I welcome you all to this session on Is Debate the platform for new speakers? The era, which is dominated by a very short time span, instant opinions, judgments, and algorithm driven contents and conversation. It is very important to understand the importance of critical thinking, the active listening, and how we speak responsibly. And debate is such platform. It is not just about winning argument. It is about shaping perspective, understanding, and it is the platform to understand how to participate in democracy. AMA has always been consistent and we have our commitments towards educating and empowering women, empowering the youth. And our executive director, our management always promotes that. And this event is also one of such initiatives to promote youth empowerment. We have very distinguished panel who have been a part of debate culture, and they have proven that debate is not just a skill, but it is a pathway to lead. To guide this conversation, we have with us Miss Lipi Goyal. She needs no introduction, but as a policy and protocol, I would still say she is a global presenter. She is an award-winning master of ceremony, an elite public speaking coach with portfolio of more than 3,000 plus international and Indian events. At the same time, she has hosted prestigious families and institutions. She has shared stage with iconic personalities like Salman Khan, Shark Tank India's Aman Gupta, reflecting her presence on high impact platforms. Blending performance excellence with strategic communication expertise, she works closely with CEOs, CXOs, and senior leaders to enhance public speaking and trusted communication trainer. On behalf of AMA, I would like to welcome her and felicitate her. So I'll pause here so that the real voices behind today's events get the chance to speak. So starting with our esteemed moderator, over to you, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and thank you to all of you over here. I hope this evening turns out to be a worthy evening to begin the weekend as well. And we have the esteemed panelists over here. And, before me speaking to them, introducing them, we had a great chat over coffee and green tea. So I want you all to kindly just introduce yourself in 2 lines and let everybody know that how the journey has been so far, the debate journey, your journey of achieving so many things in life. And in, let's say, 2 to 3 lines, let's understand you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lippy ma'am. And I know, sorry, I'm calling you ma'am. I'm just very used to that. But I think in terms of the journey, I think when I used to debate, I think 90% of the students sitting here might not have sort of passed the 5th, 6th standard. So I think our era of debating was very, very, different. And which is why I think having somebody like an Aditya is important to fill the audience also, right? Because then that's a great addition to the panel with all of his TP, if I'm saying it, TPC, sorry, yeah. But in terms of my journey, I think I've done my majority schooling in Ahmedabad. Joined this organization called Chhatra Sansad, founded that here in Ahmedabad, where I'm sure a lot of people would have participated. If not, we might just do something, and you guys can always come down. But somebody like an Aditya was always a part of Chhatra Sansad before he started something on his own, right? I think right before he started the Turning Point community, he was heading one of our events here in Ahmedabad. So, but it's great to see, how creating these platforms helps create new platforms like a Turning Point and others that have sort of started and spun out of organizations like what Krunal runs and what I run. In terms of the journey, I think we've grown leaps and bounds I've sort of moved out of Ahmedabad. I'm in Mumbai right now, pursuing a career in recruitment consultancy. So I do that on the professional side. Plus, over the weekends, I try to sort of be in and around Chhatra Sansad, in and around events that we are having. From an organization perspective, I think we've sort of created teams across the country now. It's been 10 years that we started the organization back in 2015, and we've sort of now gathered over 29,000 people across the country. We have an advisory board which consists of people like Dr. S. Somnath, who's the chairman of ISRO, Dr. Kiran Bedi, and there's a big list of people which I can always name. But that's something that we've been we've been able to achieve. And of course, this today is sort of very different because we at Chhatra Sansad are always on the other side where you are sitting, where we are sort of interviewing and conducting a session with somebody who's very learned, but would be happy to sort of contribute wherever I can today. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, and looking forward.
Thank you so much. And let's move to Krunal.
Thank you so much, Lippy, and great to be part of this audience. First of all, thanks to Ahmedabad Management Association for calling me. I've been a loyal admirer of this organization because in my college time, we and our group used to sit outside this very campus and talk about very funny things, but never thought that I would be called to this organization, this as a speaker. But of course, my journey didn't started as a debater. I was an NSS volunteer. So of course, grassroots level things was very much close to me. I was into volunteering. I was into giving back to the society. So my the first real time thing started with interacting with the community, interacting with the people who are on the grassroots. And that's how I started, because when I started working with the Election Commission of India as the campus ambassadors, I went to houses, collecting the Form 6, enrolling new voters and everything. At that point of time, I understood that what problems people have. And at that point of time, got a clarity that, what you need to do in the to change the society. And I guess that was the point and time from the college when I went into public speaking, when I went into, raising my voices again at different levels, at policy consultations and roundtables, or even the community clubs, for making a change, for making a visible change. Then I also went to Dang. It is the most inferior district of Gujarat, not only Gujarat, but India, for a 3 months rural internship, where I gathered that what the grassroots problems are. Because when we debate on certain things which are sometimes superficial, sometimes which has happened in past, but we forget what is the reality. So to understand that reality, I went to Dang, and I got to know that what the system, what the feelings of being an Indian is, and what people feel at that point of time. And after that, my journey started. I started working in a non-profit called Elixir Foundation. And at that point of time, while talking for the United Nations, I actually started working for UNICEF. So UNICEF project for Gujarat, I managed that project. So getting to know the children, their aspirations and everything was very much clear. After that, joining different communities, I am part of Ahmedabad Global Shapers, which is a part of the Global Shapers community, an initiative by World Economic Forum. Talking about all these things, I got a chance to represent India at the United Nations. I went to United Nations in Geneva twice. And at that point of time, I got to know that, okay, debate is of course is a very crucial part, but of course with that comes negotiations, with that comes a part where you have to put forward your voices, and that does not happen just in a 15 minutes time or 20 minutes time. You have to go to different places, you have to talk to different stakeholders, and that makes a consensus, that brings a resolution. Because I was also part of the global youth position paper. So what youth thinks, it does not just convey in just 15 minutes time or a debate, but it's a long-term consultation process. So from that till here, it's a great journey. And recently I've been nominated by the Ministry of Youth Affairs as the youth icon to promote what Viksit Bharat 2047 would look like. And 12th of January 2025, I presented the aspirations of more than 3 million young people in front of the Prime Minister of India, and that what an empowered Viksit Bharat would look like. That was the first of its kind. So I guess this is what how you evolve, and of course debates have always been helpful. As a new speaker, I was very much underconfident, but I guess all this exposure has always made me the person who I am. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Krunal. And before Aditya introduces, I just want to say one thing. A lot of names are popping up over here while they introduce themselves, that where they have been participating, the organizations they've been associated to, probably when they started immediately after the college. So if even you guys are here and you wish to have an access to that platform, probably you can make notes and just get a list of the associations and the organizations of which they have been part of, and and they can further guide you post the event as well, that how you can connect with them if you also wish to give back to the community. All right, so moving to Aditya now, and let's get to know you a little bit in
Yeah,
brief.
thank you.
Aditya has come with his own set of fan following. I think I can see that.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. First of all, I'd like to state that this platform itself is very important for me to be invited by AMA, because back when Turning Point Community was not a community, it was a mere organization started by a whim of a person who loved debate. We used to call it TPI. I think Dev Babani right here, the executive director, Sarthak Sharma, one of our oldest team members, a testament to how we've reached here. But it was AMA who gave us the first platform, and that is where we rose from. Having said that, members, I request you all to not get fascinated or build an image based on the title that I've been given here: national level debater, trainer, founder, Turning Point Community. That is how I choose to position myself. All in all, I am a young student who is extremely enthusiastic in doing what he does. I love socializing, making friends, and networking, and that is how I started working with people. And one thing I was good at was debate. But what I later learned is that with community building, you come across so many people with variety of skill set, and I managed to find the correct set of people who I'm proud to call my team, with whom I've built this entire foundation and have started working pan India in the direction of community building and debate. Debate, the topic here itself, if it is a platform for new speaker, it is an age old platform. From Adi Shankaracharya Maharaj, who used to have Purva Paksha, Uttar Paksha, ancient Indian debate, to the current debates that we see on television, to the Oxford Union debates that we generally witness. Why debate is important, and the title is the new
I think you
speaker
should
in
leave that
itself.
for me right now to ask. I just want
Fair enough.
everybody,
So I'll
to
just
know
go through
you
my
a little.
journey. My journey is very simple. Where I started, before I started doing MUNs, my primary focus was on debate. I went to World School of Debate. I participated in British parliamentary debates. I traveled across India participating in one, till my friend, very fine friend, told me that there is model UNs happening. I participated in it as well. I came across Ratan Bhai. I came across a lot of friends who were in a similar field, seniors who mentored me throughout. And in no time, I found myself across company who helped nurture my talents. And debating and community building, I think, falls in the same place, and that is where I come from. And thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So now if I start with Ratan over here, the moment we say debate, automatically we also feel like saying debate competition, But if we talk beyond competition today, as per you, according to you, what other skills a youth can develop in himself or herself when he or she is continuously being part of debates, as a speaker, as a listener, in the group, individually? What thoughts are yours, when they're actually participating? What skills can be developed in the youth?
I think, in my opinion, more than the competition aspect of it, I think competition is sort of called because that is something that sort of entices the students to sort of become a part of the community and come and participate. But I think the broader perspective on having debates, I think as long as somebody who has the will and the power and the guts to sort of just participate, I think that is probably one of the most important steps a person is sort of taking, right? Because in one of the few events that we've sort of done, I always make it a point that we are sort of picking a few students who've just participated, right? Like, it's a 2-day event, and they've not even maybe said more than 3 sentences in the entire debate, But I think those are the people who are the most important, because the biggest skill that they've achieved is sort of conquering their fear of coming in front of an audience and talking, right? So I think that's probably one of the biggest skills a person can sort of learn, right? Like that's, I think acceptance of a fear of coming and speaking in front of an audience is very, very important. So that's, I think, the first very, very important life skill. I call this a life skill, right? Everybody here who's young, if you think you are going to become anything in your life and you can't, and you will not have to use public speaking, or you will not have to converse with people. I used to take a orientation in schools before our events, where we go and sort of try and pitch our event. I always go and say, if you're becoming a doctor, and if you think that you will not have to do a public speaking or something, you can't just go and tell the patient, "Okay, right?" Or if you're becoming, let's say, a sports person, you won the match for the team, somebody will stand, you will have to stand there and give an interview in front of the national television, right? So it is a life skill. So I think that's the first. Secondly, I think the amount of network and the connections that you build, right? Um, I think 90% of my friends circle is something that I've built through these events and communities that I've been a part of, right? Like, I think me and Krunal, we go a long way back, right? Me and Krunal were in school, I think. We come from the same school as well, by the way. Come from HB Kapadia New High School, right? I mean, at HBK, of course, I think हमने कोई debate वगैरह तो नहीं किया था, but I think we still come from the same school, right? So, but then now that I look back, if I had that platform that are available today, I think I would have been 10 times better, right? Like I only got through these platforms, etc., in my 12th standard, when I went to a fancy school like Udgam, where I got that exposure, right? Like, not saying that HBK did not give me the exposure. HBK has still kept me rooted that way, right? Like I've had crazy friends जो मैं जीवन में कुछ भी कितना भी कर लूंगा, they will keep me grounded. So I think second is network, and the third thing which I can add to this is just the sheer confidence that you build, right? Like if you participate in two events where you've not spoken, but the third one, when you go and say that one rebuttal to a person who's sort of trying to pull you down, I think that's the sheer confidence that a person generates, right? Like, and then I know that bloody, if an Arnab Goswami comes and takes a question on me, I can bloody give it back to him. So I think that confidence is something that is the third point. So these are the three top skills that I would say, in my opinion.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have any alumni of HB Kapadia over here by any chance? Just no. All right. So since you were speaking about it, so yeah, great. So I think your network decides your net worth. Sometimes they say that, right? So that's a great point that you've said, that participating in debate competition is not just the part of it, but to understand that how it helps the future, the youth, and the nation builders to come together and develop other skills. So public speaking, networking, and immense amount of confidence that you can also face. Arnab Goswami.
I will just say one thing. I have never won a debate in my life.
That doesn't matter.
Right?
Yeah,
So
of course.
just so that I can give it out to the people here, if you're going to debate competitions, if you're not winning, you can still reach anywhere possible. I have never won a debate in my life.
But I'm sure you have networked well. You've
I
made
have
some great
networked
bunch
well,
of friends over
right?
there.
So
Yeah.
I kept at it. Eventually, I realized that maybe I'm not as good as people who are coming and debating out there. I just eventually sort of created a platform where they come and do debates on my platform, right? So it's as simple as that, right? You don't necessarily need to sort of debate and win all competitions. Participating and keeping at it is more important.
Great. Moving ahead to Krunal over here. You have such a varied and wide exposure, not just in Gujarat or India, but all over the world. And in today's time, when everybody, each one of us, is consuming and part of digital world in such a huge span, I want to understand from you that in this whole short content era which we are talking, where the attention span is reducing year by year, if we see the facts as well, what's your thought, that is debate still relevant, and is youth still engaging with so much of excitement as probably when you guys started, or when today even Aditya is trying to make an impact globally, right? So what's your thought that with the whole digitalization era and the short content form era, how youth is looking at debates today?
सी लिपि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ऑफ कोर्स सोशल मीडिया के आने से हम सबका अटेंशन स्पैन आज 30 seconds 40 seconds जितना हो गया या इवन लेस देन दैट बट डिबेट्स आर स्टिल रिलेवेंट डिबेट्स तब तक रिलेवेंट रहेंगे जब तक अ पर्सन इज इनटू डेटा a person is into wants to learn new things is curious about and is patient about learning new things उसको research करना है research में interest है they don't want to just bluff they just don't want a mic drop moment on social media they want to speak out what is necessary what is truth because debate मुझे लगता है कि it is a discipline it is not a performance the most important thing to अंडरस्टैंड टुडे इन टुडेज टाइम जहाँ पे सोशल मीडिया पे 60 सेकेंड्स में हम इतना सारा कंटेंट कंज्यूम करते हैं दैट इन 60 सेकेंड्स यू आर टेलिंग गुजराती में कहिए तो ऊपर छल्ली वस्तु આપણે કહીએ છે but what debate is all about it is about the depth is missing the depth sometimes come because to prove your point in a debate sometimes you have to research for it for 1 day 2 day 3 day आपको उसमें खो जाना पड़ता है but in social media era the things are कि हम कुछ भी बोल देते हैं and then after that we कहे हाँ ये तो अभी गलती हो गई ठीक है and that's not the whole point of debate so that's why I tell that debate is a discipline and organizations must understand कि debate के लिए time देना पड़ता है उनको रिसर्च का टाइम देना पड़ता है उनको वो क्लैरिटी देनी पड़ती है कि व्हाई वी आर डूइंग द डिबेट्स व्हाट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ द होल डिबेट द डिबेट का पर्सपेक्टिव ये नहीं है कि हम सोशल मीडिया पे कूल दिखे हम सोशल मीडिया पे अच्छे यू नो हमारी क्लिप्स आए उसमें से इतना अच्छा बोले कि हमारी क्लिप्स वायरल हो उसके लिए डिबेट्स नहीं करना है बट डिबेट्स इज मेकिंग द ऑडियंस अंडरस्टैंड द डेप्थ द रीजन व्हाई दिस टॉपिक इज बीन डिबेटेड वो जब तक लोगों को पता नहीं चलेगा तब तक आप उनसे कनेक्ट ही नहीं कर पाओगे एंड दैट्स वेयर द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ डिबेट इज वेरी मच हाई ओके बिकॉज 60 सेकंड में अगर मैं किसी चीज को सुनूंगा वो मुझे 60 मिनट तक याद रहेगी बट 5 मिनट तक जब मैं किसी चीज को सुनता हूं तर्क वितर्क को सुनता हूं जब मैं प्रॉब्लम को सुनता हूं उस प्रोसेस को सुनता हूं उसके सॉल्यूशंस को सुनता हूं तब जाके मुझे पता चलता है कि व्हाई दिस मैटर्स टू मी एज अ पर्सन एंड एट द एंड whole civilization of ours is very much selfish let me say because they at the end will think कि इसमें से मेरा क्या फायदा so until and unless you don't provide value to the audience in your debates कि इससे आपका क्या फायदा हो रहा है people will not you know think about कि हाँ ये मेरे लिए valuable है and that I guess is very much missing on social media because उसमें हमको dopamine release तो मिल जाता है ठीक है हमको adrenaline rush तो मिल जाता है कि yes हम दुनिया बदल देंगे पर जैसे ही वो 60 seconds की रील हम scroll करते हैं और जब फिर कोई भी सॉन्ग आ जाता है तो हम उस सॉन्ग पे ज्यादा फोकस हो जाते हैं rather than कि मुझे मिलियनर या बिलियनर बनना है so I guess at that point of time debates are very much crucial to understand कि आपकी depth कितनी है एज अ पर्सन आपकी क्रेडिबिलिटी कितनी है आपकी डेप्थ कितनी है आपका रिसर्च कितना फाइन ट्यून है आप कितनी चीजें साइट कर रहे हो आप क्या सिर्फ और सिर्फ वो चीजें किस हिसाब से बोलना चाहते हो कि क्या सिर्फ सोशल मीडिया पे वायरल हो इसलिए बोलना चाहते हो या तो लोगों को उसका असली मतलब पता चले ठीक है उसके लिए बिकॉज when we debate it is also very necessary to accept the uncertainties ऐसा नहीं है कि everything is very much red ठीक है बहुत ही अच्छा है बहुत ही सुंदर है ऐसा नहीं कई बार वी हैव टू एक्सेप्ट कि भाई ये प्रॉब्लम है उस प्रॉब्लम को समझाने के लिए वी नीड टाइम एंड ऑफ कोर्स सोशल मीडिया के आने के बाद इसका एक्सेसिबिलिटी बढ़ गया है जो डिबेट्स है उसके मेन क्रक्स के पार्ट है वो उसका एक्सेसिबिलिटी बढ़ गया है बट आई मस्ट से दैट उसका पूरा जो कहते हैं कि होल एंड सोल है ठीक है उसके लिए तो आपको पूरा डिबेट सुनना ही पड़ेगा सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू आप पूरे 15 मिनट के डिबेट का
जिस नहीं निकाल सकते एब्सोल्युटली True. Thank you. Moving to Aditya over here. So we've been speaking so much about the positivity a debate can give us, Now, I want to understand from you that what are some of the mistakes that you feel the youth generally does as soon as they start debating, right? So let's understand, like, if you want to get to know that, these are the mistakes probably tomorrow if they go and they have a platform, they should keep in mind that these are the mistakes probably they should not make while debating.
I think in a very restless answer, Mr. Krunal Bhai already have given a very good understanding. Okay, social media pe you love to sensationalize, you love to be savage, right? We want to be that sigma person that is that edit made, for which we pursue it, right? We pursue that culture where we want to debate to win. But I think a very important element of it, there is research, there is articulation, but the most important aspect I'd suggest is listening, and also being able to effectively mobilize people's opinion. You need to start a conversation through debate. If that is not happening, that is the time you introspect, because there are so many mistakes you can make, but you need to understand what you're doing right. You need to start reading as well, because people, when they start speaking well, now they think that, okay, now this is the time when I start debating as well, because debating as an art is very much I'd say is equalized with public speaking. The question is, are you a good public speaker or are you a good debater? Because what I've learned is the best debaters that I've come across were not the most eloquent individuals. I myself was very eloquent when I was young. My friends would be a testament to that. But my research base, the way I articulated my answers, and the ability to convince a person was not there. It comes with time eventually, when you start reading, when you understand the worldview, and you research a bit. So I'd say empty arguments go so long. You need to understand, to reach beyond a point, you need to start understanding. Forget about reading, forget about researching, understanding the crux of the issue you're talking about. If you're able to get the crux, you'll able to articulate an opinion. And if that opinion is able to mobilize someone's mind, someone's opinion itself, that is when the debate starts, because that leads to a conversation. I'll end my line by saying one small thing. Might be very irrelevant to what the status of this debate is, but how do you think the humanity will die out? Is one question I asked a couple of my friends years back. Some said that we might be taken over by AI, nuclear war, falana timkana. I traced what is going on right now. The way I said it, I think we will die out of being irrelevant. We'll die out of relevance. Because eventually, as you learn with how fast the automation process is, how much dependent we are not just on technology, but the way we are developing as human species, ideas don't come so fast unless you start talking about it. So all those people who are involved in an organization that deals with debate, or who are debating or are interested in it, you guys are doing very important work, because the next 10 years are of people who are able to express, debate, and put their thoughts out loud. If you're able to do that well, congratulations.
Very well put through everything. Thank you. Thank you so much, Aditya. Moving back to Ratin over here. So Ratin, now in today's time, since you started at a very young age and you have a very diversified journey, I would say, of coming in this zone, I want to understand now today, when you see the youth, right, they debating, talking, understanding, growing up in this era, do you feel somewhere that they are very applause driven, or they're still very impact driven? Do you see a difference now as compared to how things were earlier?
From a, I mean, again, our when we started off, I think when we were debating, I don't think there was Instagram back then, right? Like, I think there was no reel, there was no everything, right? So I think for us, applause was as good as
As the current applause we get, yeah.
right. So like, it was that. I think the definition of applause now has sort of changed from those loud claps and cheers to the likes and the comments you get on social media. um I think what's important, right, and adding on to probably what the last couple of answers both Krunal and Aditya gave, right? I think what's more important to sort of create that impact, right? I think there are people, of course, right? And let's face it, right? Everybody here has now become more applause driven than impact driven, right? Like I think in all of our answers also everybody's spoken about debates. We've spoken about debates. We have a topic called debates, right? But we need to understand that that impact will only and only come when you take the debates out of these rooms and then eventually sort of put that to action. Right? I can always say and debate that, boss, the government's not doing this, the government is at fault at this. But what are you doing about it? Right? How many of us here know who the MLA of our constituency is? Right? I can always go and debate that, boss, you know, my MLA is not doing this. But MLA कौन है ये नहीं पता होगा. Right? I think for us to reach that impact driven society, I think it has to be more than debate, right? Whatever you are debating and eventually concluding on it is some, you have to take it outside and sort of start implementing it and start sort of working towards that. I think that's probably one of the most important things. But to answer your question, I think 100% the generation is such that everybody is applause driven, not impact driven.
Quite surprising to know that, you know. But if I come to Krunal now, right? I think you really, not just as a debater, but as a person also, and the experience that you shared going to the village and, you know, experiencing the rural for 3 months, that whole life, I think you are aware that how the youth is creating impacts in, you know, some corners of the country. Probably they are not applause driven, but a very small section, like he also said, is interested in that. So now if we come and correlate debate with social impact and the change, how you think that debates help the youth in empowering and bringing social change?
This is of course, a very debatable question. See, of course, for bringing a social change, जो skills चाहिए, debates provide that. Okay, आपको articulation आता है, आपको critical thinking आता है, आपको अच्छा research करना आता है, आपको किस चीज को कैसे ढंग में present करना है, वो सारी चीजें आती है. But until and unless you don't go on the ground and do the work, आप जिस चीज के बारे में डिबेट कर रहे हो, वो डिबेट को आप एक्शंस में नहीं बदलते हो, तब तक ग्रास रूट लेवल चेंज या सोशल चेंज नहीं आता है. लेट मी गिव यू अ वेरी गुड एग्जांपल. आई वाज टॉकिंग टू वन ऑफ माय फ्रेंड इन नेपाल. We happen to be in the same community of global shapers. When the Nepal protest happened, I asked him that what was the series of the thing. तो उसने भी यही बताया कि भाई पहले तो 1 साल तक बहुत डिबेट्स चली, ठीक है, एवरीवन वाज इनटू डिबेट, सभी जगह पे पब्लिक प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे थे, मास प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे थे, सभी जगह सब लोग अपना पॉइंट रख रहे थे. बट आफ्टर दैट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वाज देयर कि जब लोगों को लगा कि भाई रास्ते पर उतरना पड़ेगा तभी एक चेंज आएगा. तो उसने भी यही बोला कि भाई अगर हम लोग अभी भी टीवी पर सिर्फ डिबेट ही करते या हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ सोशल मीडिया पे यही कहते कि ये बुरा है, ये बुरा है, तो चेंज नहीं आएगा. सो अंटिल एंड अनलेस the young people who are into debate don't go into policy forums, don't go into communities, don't talk to communities, don't volunteer for something, they cannot bring a social change. Because ये ऐसा है, because when you talk, when you debate but without any substance, जब आपको ground reality ही नहीं पता है, उसके ऊपर या उसके अलावा आप डिबेट कैसे कर सकते हो? बिकॉज विदाउट नोइंग द ग्राउंड रियलिटीज, विदाउट नोइंग द सब्सटेंस, इफ यू डिबेट, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज मैनिपुलेशन बेसिकली. सो बेसिकली यू नीड टू नो द नर्व्स फॉर व्हाट यू आर डिबेटिंग. वो क्लैरिटी तो होनी चाहिए. ऑफ कोर्स what I believe is that debates should happen, okay, but not on hypothetical situations or not on superficial things. Debate about the nutrition awareness in Gujarat, debate about the things which matters, the road safety in Gujarat or in India. इन सारी चीजों पर जब हम डिबेट करेंगे, उसके बाद क्या? The problem is कि डिबेट के बाद हम रुक जाते हैं. उसका एक्शन आइटम्स क्या होता है? उसके बाद क्या इसमें से कोई भी यंग पीपल गवर्नमेंट के पास जाता है और रिकमेंडेशंस देते हैं कि दिस नीड्स टू बी चेंज. We 50 people talked about it and we found that this is the solution. This solution needs to be implemented. So for a social change, of course, debate is a very crucial thing to spark that idea कि भाई मुझे social change लाना है. But going on the ground, talking with the people, with the community, doing grassroots work, suggesting policy changes, or like working with different youth. So all this is needed. Collaboration with different peoples are needed, because debate, when I debate, that is my individual perspective, that is my individual thought process which I am giving. But when I want to bring a social change, I have to work with a team. I have to respect each and everyone's opinions. I have to respect each and everyone's ideas, perspectives. There's, because people might have biases, stereotypes, everything. But one thing which cannot be, which is a hindrance in bringing a social change, is discrimination. कि मेरे को ही सब चीजें आती है, मने बधु आवड़े, MBA, मने बधु आवड़े, that does not like work when we want to bring a social change. And that's what the next step after the debate is. Once you complete your debate, go home, introspect के भाई next what, debate कर ली, award जीत लिया, but now for a social change, जिसके लिए ये माइक हाथ में उठाया था, जिसके लिए शेरो शायरी की थी, जिस भारत के लिए, अब उसको बदलने के लिए क्या करेंगे? Otherwise what will happen is, after 2 to 3 years of debating and everything, people will settle in their corporate life or in their businesses and everything, and people will forget that what was the whole point of debate. The whole point of debate was to spark curiosity and to spark changes. Because आप कोई भी protest देख लीजिए या कोई भी change देख लीजिए, it's started as a debate, but उसको फिर action में convert करना is also the responsibility. And I guess that is somewhat missing. You know, I go to many MUNs and everything, बहुत सारी बातें हम करते हैं, but there we like talk to prove our points. We prove our points कि हाँ मैं सच, मेरा English इतना अच्छा है, but nothing after that. We don't collaborate with the other team members to bring a social change, and I guess that is needed. Yeah, so in Chhatra Sansad, what unique thing with what we did was कि we went, MUN चल रहा था और वहाँ पे हमने सोचा कि let's create something. ये बहुत हो गया, ये अब हमने सारे hypothetical situations पर बात कर ली, but what about the real problem? So we gave 10 committees, 10 different topics to discuss on. Women empowerment हो गया, gender equality हो गया, ठीक है, road रास्ते, infrastructure हो गया, education skilling, और उनसे मांगा कि भूल जाओ कि ये कोई MUN competition है, दिल से मन से तुम्हारा क्या you know इस पर तर्क है, क्या इस पर point है, वो रखिए. और सब लोगों ने recommendations दिए. We compiled the whole recommendations doc and we sent it to the different government offices for a review कि भाई देखो तो सही कि आज के youth को चाहिए क्या. That is where you go ahead from debates and you know that curiosity, and आप एक real change, एक social change के बारे में आगे बढ़ते हैं.
And for just to add, अगर आप लोग को लगता है कि आप लोग जाके आवाज उठाओगे और कोई नहीं सुनता है, that is actually not true. Right? This same report, I was, when we did this, I think I was what, 23. I randomly walked into Bhupendra Bhai's office on a Monday, because Monday को कोई भी जा सकता है वहाँ पे, right? It's a public hour, visiting hours होते हैं. We randomly walked into the office and we told him that sir, हम लोग ये कर रहे हैं, हम आपको 4 साल से बुला रहे हैं, आप आते ही नहीं हो, आप यूथ के इवेंट में आप आते नहीं हो, आप हर जगह जाते हो. We said that, and there were 20 people standing behind me. Mind you, I went and told, I think it wasn't even a Monday, it was a Tuesday, because वो Monday को वो थे नहीं, तो Tuesday हम गए थे. I had the event का inauguration ceremony on Friday. Tuesday evening 5:30, I've met him. Friday 5:30, he was there in my event.
Wow, that's the kind of small impact that you know we
That's
can
the
talk
small
about.
impact.
Yeah, true.
Of just going and telling him कि सर हम 4 साल से आपको बुला रहे हैं, इतने young लोग इकट्ठा हो रहे हैं, ये topics पे discuss कर रहे हैं. And that same event, we had created this report. And after the event, we actually got a call from his office that why did you not come to submit the report? We said we are preparing it. And then eventually we launched the report in his presence in Vadodara in the next event that we did. So if you go and speak up, I think everybody is there to listen. It's only about taking that one step.
Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. Coming back to Aditya now, and you know, speaking about the community that you have, the Turning Point community. So I want to understand from you that is debate actually and for real the best training ground for the new speakers who are emerging, the emerging speakers of the country, and how is it like a best training ground if it is?
I believe yes, debate is the best training ground, and because it encompasses literally everything, right from public speaking to logical reasoning to listening, to how to articulate your argument, debate has all these elements that young students must learn. Today, we are here not just training students for debate, we are also getting them the right place and the right company where they can debate for. As Kunal Bhai very rightly said, that in the era of social media, our debate is limited to sensationalism. A very nice example I'd like to give is the one time when me and Kunal Bhai were together chairing a conference. I was under him working in UN Women, where the topic was about women's safety and online harassment. Mind you, I was a very eloquent speaker. I was a good debater. I had zero idea about what women safety laws and cyber laws were because I was not from that field. I did limited research I could to make sure that I am not caught. That was one of the very few times that I'd say I did not do justice to my part as a chairperson. Right? Krunal Bhai, in his all understanding, knew fair bit more than I did, but I certainly did not. So I'll tell you what I did. I went there, I gave a very illustrious speech about women laws because all I needed was 4 articles to impress those kids. I stated those articles in a very defined tone. I gave them a very articulate understanding about what is happening with cyber safety laws and women these days. And that one speech, I think, was almost all my research. And guess what? I had around 10-15 students coming up to me, sir, we are very inspired. Thank you so much for giving us such an insightful, 2 days of your knowledge. We want to be like you, Phalana Tikana. It was very embarrassing, honestly. So first thing I taught my students, Lippy, because you also have been training students, you have a very eloquent way of communicating, by the way, should I admire that. But one thing I teach my students first is don't believe in anything, question. I think debate teaches you to question. When you are refuted multiple times, when you have to convince and put a position forward, the first thing that you learn is to question the other person, listen to them very carefully, and then put your position forward. And that is what is the need of time. Start questioning. Do not be intimidated. Do not be afraid of putting out your opinion because you think that certain people know something that you don't. Be brutally honest about being ignorant, and in doing so you will find channels that will help you. The idea of community, as you asked, is to build a collective belongingness amongst young students who are interested in these kind of activities. Let them not be the best debaters. One of the people who heads the organization is a mechanical engineering from Nirma University who has no ABC of debate and yet has wonderful leadership skills and keeping two people together. So that is what we are headed towards. Building a youth community which is more than academic, but all about debate. And I think that sums up Turning Point community and the question as to where are we headed. Is it the best platform for speakers? Yes, definitely it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aditya, for sharing that. In fact, even when I train and when I coach, I always tell them that public speaking is an art. And if you want to learn that art, what you also need to learn is the art of questioning. You should also know how to ask the right question in the correct voice modulation, the tonations. That's also equally important. If I'm asking something about change, a change which I wish to bring, let's say, but I'm asking, like in a very shy format, and maybe only one person can hear my voice, it's not going to create that change, right? But if I'm very confident, I'm looking into your eyes and I'm asking you that, okay, this is the kind of change I'm looking for, and when can I expect, what are the things required? So I'm looking into your eyes, I'm asking you with that energy, with that enthusiasm, and with that confidence. So that's very important. So thank you, Aditya, and we hope and we wish that this whole community and the idea that you have grows further bigger. एंड आई वांट टू कम टू कृणाल नाउ. इन्होंने एक एग्जांपल दिया दैट जब बहुत साल पहले जब ये इन्वॉल्व थे एक्टिवली, और कैसे ये उस वक्त हमारे सीएम के ऑफिस पे गए और एक चेंज लेकर आए, और शायद वो बस एक थोड़ा सा धक्का लगाने की बात थी कि चलिए हम चलते हैं और बात करके आते हैं. सिमिलरली आदित्य ने एक एग्जाम्पल दिया है कैसे वो खुद जब आपके अंडर ही एक डिबेट में थे. सो मैं चाहती हूँ अगर आप भी एक ऐसा एग्जाम्पल दे सके, चाहे वो आपकी जिंदगी से हो या आपने कहीं देखा हो, जिससे एक इम्पैक्ट आया हो, एक चेंज आया हो.
सी व्हाट आई बिलीव इज के ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जांपल्स है, बट रिसेंटली जो मैंने देखा कि इवन द गवर्नमेंट वांट्स के हम उनकी बातें सुने. ठीक है, आई वाज नेवर गाय के जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज को इतना जल्दी ग्रैब करे. ठीक है, आई वाज नेवर द गाय. आई वाज ऑलवेज वेरी शाय पर्सन, बट व्हेन आई गॉट टू नो द पोटेंशियल व्हिच आई हैव, उसके बाद ही आई गेस ऐसा हुआ कि हम मैं आगे बढ़ पाया. सो आई वुड जस्ट गिव एन एग्जांपल ऑफ माय वर्किंग विद अहमदाबाद ग्लोबल शेपर्स. सो अहमदाबाद ग्लोबल शेपर्स के अंदर हमने सोचा कि भाई बहुत सारी इवेंट्स कर ली, बहुत सारे एक्टिविटीज कर लिया कि अब कुछ करना है, मतलब अब सुनना है, लोगों से सुनना है कि लोगों को अहमदाबाद कैसा लगता है. सो वी डिड अ वेरी सिटी लेवल थिंग. वी डिड वन वर्ल्ड कैफे करके हमने एक इवेंट किया जहां पे हमने 100 पार्टिसिपेंट्स फ्रॉम डिफरेंट यूनिवर्सिटीज, उन सबको इनवाइट किया. हमने ये इनविटेशन तो दे दिया. अब सोच रहे थे कि ओके, इनसे हम डिबेट कौन से टाइप्स पर करवाएंगे, कौन से थीम्स पर करवाएंगे. ठीक है, तो हमने उन लोगों को 10-10 की टीम में बांट दिया. 10 ऐसे बर्निंग कह सकते हैं कि क्वेश्चंस ऑफ अहमदाबाद सिटी हमने उनके दिए कि भाई इस पर अहमदाबाद सिटी लोकल लेवल चेंजेस जो है, अगर उन पे इम्पैक्ट करना है या उनमें कुछ चेंज लाना है तो वो क्या होंगे. एवरीवन वाज गिवन 1 hour टाइम एंड द सिस्टम वाज 10 लोग बैठे हैं. आफ्टर 10 मिनट्स आप सारे पूरा ग्रुप खड़ा होगा, क्लॉकवाइज में घूमेगा. ठीक है, और देन यू विल बी गिवन एन अनदर थीम. सो आप उस पर ही बिल्ड करोगे जो पिछले वाले ने लिखा होगा 10 मिनट पहले. सो ऐसे करके फॉर 60 मिनट्स, यानी कि आपको 6 डिफरेंट थीम्स पर जाने का मौका मिलेगा, रिविजिट करने का मौका मिलेगा, देखने का मौका मिलेगा कि लोग कैसे सोचते हैं, लोगों ने क्या सोचा. And we then completed, we then joined it with the SDGs and everything. And उसके बाद हमने उसको ज्वाइन करके एक रिपोर्ट बनाई. नाउ हमने रिपोर्ट तो बना दी. नाउ वी वर थिंकिंग कि इसको कैसे लोकल लेवल पर भेज सके. सो वी टॉक टू द मेयर ऑफ द सिटी. ठीक है, उस समय पे गौतम शाह वाज द मेयर. हमने उनके साथ बात की, उनको बोला कि भाई हमको ये रिकमेंडेशंस है, उनको करना है. ही इमीडिएटली कॉल्ड ऑल द DYMCs. उन्होंने बोला कि भाई एक यूथ रन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, उनको भाई अपने रिकमेंडेशन देने. तो उन्होंने हमको बुलाया, DYMCs को बुलाया, और हमने उनके सामने प्रेजेंट किया कि भाई ये सारी चीजें हो सकती है. एंड लेट मी टेल यू वन ऑफ द वेरी गुड थिंग विच हैपेंड कि प्लेस मेकिंग. ठीक है, क्योंकि अहमदाबाद को कैसे मोर हम प्लेस लाइवली बना सके, उसके आइडियाज थे. एंड द फर्स्ट टाइम एवर जो साबरमती रिवर फ्रंट का जो पानी पूरा बंद कर दिया गया था, और उस समय पे पूरा एक स्वच्छता अभियान जब किया गया था, एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम दिस थिंग हैपेंड कि भाई ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं ना भाई, 5 दिन के लिए पानी बंद कर दो, पूरा जो हमारा लेक है उस लेक के इकोसिस्टम को हम कैसे चेंज कर सकते हैं. माइंड वेल, लैक्स ऑफ पीपल अहमदाबादीज केम टुगेदर एंड उन्होंने पूरा का पूरा रिवर फ्रंट साफ किया है. अंदर उतर के, पानी पूरा नहीं था, उसके अंदर जाकर पूरा का पूरा रिवर फ्रंट साफ किया है. एंड सेकेंडली द मैसेज वाज वेरी क्लियर कि गणेश चतुर्थी के वक्त हम जो भी आइडल्स अंदर डालते हैं, दुर्गा पूजा के बाद हम जो भी सारी चीजें पानी में डालते हैं, आज वही सारी चीजें हमारे पैर में आ रही थी. सो दैट वाज ऑल्सो अ पावर टू टेल पीपल कि भाई ये चीजें आपको करनी बंद होगी. एंड दैट वाज विद वेरी वैलिड एग्जांपल्स. सो ऐसी भी बहुत सारी चीजें होती है कि व्हेन यू ब्रिंग पीपल, व्हेन यू लिसन टू द पर्सपेक्टिव्स, तो आपको एक अलग ही पर्सपेक्टिव. बिकॉज मैं बेसिकली मैं एक ग्रुप के सराउंडिंग रहता हूँ, पर ऐसे 100 लोग जो दूसरे 100 डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स के सराउंडिंग में रहते हैं, तब I guess that is the power of people bringing different perspectives. But as Aditya said, listening, उनका सुनना बहुत जरूरी है. And all these things must happen for a transformation. I believe that ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का आइडिया अगर हमारे दिमाग में नहीं है, तो आई गेस कोई भी डिबेट कर ले या हम कोई भी बातचीत कर ले, दैट कन्वर्जेशन इज वेरी मच वर्थलेस. बिकॉज जब गौतम बुद्ध ने खुद को ट्रांसफॉर्म किया था, तब इंडिया ऑल्सो ट्रांसफॉर्म इनटू अ कंट्री विद कंपैशन एज अ कोर वैल्यू. जब कुरियन ने अपने आप को वर्गीस कुरियन में ट्रांसफॉर्म किया था, तब हमने देखा कि इंडिया ट्रांसफॉर्म फ्रॉम अ कंट्री कि जिसके पास दूध की शॉर्टेज थी और आज हम बिगेस्ट एक्सपोर्टर ऑफ मिल्क बन गए। जब सचिन तेंदुलकर ने खुद को ट्रांसफॉर्म किया मास्टर ब्लास्टर में, तब लोगों को पता चला कि स्पोर्ट्स की पावर क्या है। जब सुभाष चंद्र बोस ने खुद को ट्रांसफॉर्म किया नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस में, तब लोगों को पता चला कि इंडियन आर्मी की पावर क्या है। सो एवरीवन शुड हैव दैट पावर ऑफ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन विद इन, कि उनको क्यों ये चीज करनी है। एंड आई गेस दैट इज द पॉइंट कि जब आपको क्लैरिटी आती है और जब आप ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के बारे में सोचते हैं, देन आई गेस यू कैन मूव द माउंटेन्स एंड यू कैन मूव एवरीथिंग व्हिच इज इम्पॉसिबल। लोगों को लगता है कि ये इम्पॉसिबल है, वो सारी चीजें आप हटा सकते हो।
Wow, when you talk, at least there's so much of passion I can see in your voice, in your eyes, that you have seen, witnessed that change, and you're still working towards that. Thank you so much for that. Coming back to you, Ratin, so we've spoken that how debates can nurture the coming future, the youth, how it has nurtured. Now if we switch from debate to corporate, I want to understand that all the young minds also who are sitting over here, how a debate helps the youth for leadership roles. Because you also run a consulting firm, right? So now if you also wish to, speak to the corporate, or tomorrow they will also eventually be part of the corporate world. So for the real leadership roles, how, debate helps a human being?
I think, I mean, I would say these are two very, very different worlds in the first place, right? While the core still remains the same, where you are still debating on issues that probably you are passionate about, and when you go to the corporate, these are issues that the corporates are passionate about or the company is passionate about, right? So eventually the core remains the same, but like in a debate, if I'm debating with my friend, I can always sort of have my own ways to sort of debate. But let's say if I'm debating with my manager in the corporate world, if I use the same sort of tonality and the same sort of method, then the next day I'm getting kicked out of the organization. So I think what's more important from a leadership role perspective is I think the sheer hard work that you'll have to put in, right? Like you meet any corporate leader who's probably sitting at a C-suite level position. I think one of the biggest things that they have is the depth, right? They will know their content to the T, right? I mean, you go and meet any big corporate leader or even a small corporate leader, for example, anybody, right? Like some CHRO of a company, that person will eventually can just look at a person and see whether this person is a good hire for my company or not, right? So and that does not come just by debate, just by studies, right? It comes with experience. So I think another very, very important thing from a leadership role perspective is going to be patience. You can't cut edges and become a CEO of a company in 5 years, right? That's also possible. Not saying that is not possible, but let's say if you're talking about leading a conglomerate business, right? You will have to sort of have that depth and that madness, so to say, right? Like then a lot of us might have sort of put up stories that work-life balance, etc., etc. Eventually, you get to a leadership role. There is no work-life balance. You are working. When you are not working, you're not working, right? Like I cannot comment. Like even in my day, right? I'm not a leadership role anyways. But even in my day, when I'm working, I don't think I have anything else that I do in my life for that particular day. You wake up, you go to office, you work, you come back, and you are dead, right? Because if you're not doing that, you're not succeeding, right? And that's as good as you doing anything in life, not just in corporates, right? Like for example, a Krunal, right? Like when I speak to him, I always ask him कि भाई तुम मतलब कहाँ से आता है ये passion कहाँ से आता है to sort of do a lot of these things that he does. I think and हमारे में ये हो जाता है हमारा we have a WhatsApp group where we randomly one fine day would call each other and be like कि भाई क्या चल रहा है life में, right? Like how are we coping up with two different worlds altogether? So I think what's very, very important is one, patience, two, developing a depth of whatever field you want to go into, right? Not just from a debate or a knowledge of a particular field. And the third thing I think is, which is very, very important, is working with people, right? Like you will never become a leader if you can't adjust to different working styles, right? Like eventually, if I have to work with a certain set of any leadership role person you go and meet, they will always tell you 90% of their bosses have been toxic. Let's face it, right? And for all of these young students who might just go end up in a corporate setup, let's face it guys, like you're not going to have it easy, right? मतलब जितना घर पे easily मिल जाता है चीज, corporate world you're not going to get it, right? If you are thinking कि यार सारा काम तो मैंने किया है, पर मैनेजर ने जाके बॉस को तो यही बोला है कि ये मैंने किया है, right? And that's when you hit that, that's when that reality hits कि boss, what happened, right? But right, that's how everybody's grown, right? Like that's how your boss has also grown, that's how you will also grow, right? अगर आज तुम्हारे नीचे टीम मेंबर आएगा, and if you do the same thing to that team member for your own selfish benefit, he is going to go and call you toxic. I am pretty sure of that. आदित्य ने मेरे को जब वो मेरे साथ काम कर रहा था, उसने I am 110% sure बोला है कि ये कैसा आदमी है यार. I'm sure of that. उसने बोला होगा, मेरे को पता भी है, right? So, and I'm sure for people who are working under you, they also say the same thing कि ये समझता ही नहीं है यार, मतलब, right? Like, and I'm sure, like, and Aditya used to 90% of the times, I still remember that event. हमने 10 guests बुला लिए थे. Eventually, what happens in our events is when you call 10 people, 5 turn up. That event, luckily for me, all 10 turned up. मतलब हमने सिर्फ इनवाइट भेजी थी और 10 के 10 आ गए थे. और मेरे पास हॉल था 4 घंटे के लिए. अब 10 स्पीकर, and when I say 10 speakers, I had an Om Birla, Kailash Vijayvargiya, Harsh Sanghvi, and I was like यार, and उसमें आदित्य मेरे सर पे नाच रहा है कि मेरे को स्पीच देना है. और उसके बाद भी मैंने उसको स्पीच दे दिया था. आफ्टर दैट ऑल्सो ही केम एंड सेड कि यार मेरे को लास्ट में बोलने दिया था, राइट? सो इवेंचुअली, एंड नाउ आई एम श्योर यू ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड व्हेन यू डू इवेंट्स कि यार मतलब देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स दैट गो ऑन द बैक एंड व्हिच your bosses or managers probably have to face, जो तुम तभी समझोगे जब तुम वहां जाओगे. So let's face it, I think one reality check which I can give you from experiences that we have gained is it's not going to be easy working with managers or leaders or bosses until you become a boss yourself. But when you become a boss yourself, make sure that तुम्हारे पास और तुम्हारे साथ जो जो चीजें करी गई थी, तुम वो रिपीट ना करो जस्ट फॉर दैट ईगो सेटिस्फैक्शन कि मेरे साथ तो ये हुआ था, मैं इसके साथ भी करूंगा, राइट? सो आई थिंक दैट्स समथिंग दैट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट.
I think what I get a little gist is that अगर आपके साथ अच्छा हुआ है तो आप आगे अच्छी चीजें ही पास कीजिए, लेकिन अगर आपके साथ थोड़ा सा भी बुरा हुआ है, try not to replicate that behavior or that format further to the juniors who are coming with you. Thank you. I think that was very well explained over here with real examples, including our other panelists also over here. So Aditya, if I come to you now, and I think the youth connects with you a lot because you are kind of driving that community over here, and we are sitting at such a lovely institution, you know, AMA, Ahmedabad Management Association, which supports and which comes up with so many management programs for teens, for kids, for young adults, for seniors, everybody. So if I get a perspective from you that how AMA can support the student-led debate and speaking communities over here.
I think primary AMA is already supporting a lot, right? While we here represent the debating community of Ahmedabad, trying to represent the debating community of Gujarat, and deemed to be representing debating community of India. AMA has been pivotal in the growth, considering that I remember when we started out at ArguFest 2.0, Tark Shastra as we called it very rightly, we were not supported immensely in multiple ways than one at Ahmedabad Management Association. And soon as we started to grow, as sir also realized the potential of this platform and the amount of people that are connecting to us, we saw new platforms spur out. But the question again is not something that is to reflect in the past, but to look into the future. So I'd say Ahmedabad Management Association can take forth multiple formats of debate, can host those debates, and having these kind of sessions is important, but with that, giving something for students to participate is also something AMA can do, and will effectively grow the reach in youth. Because I'd say with a very strong understanding that AMA has that venue capacity, that infrastructure, that if made available to youth, people can turn this around. The picture can be much, much brighter, and the students will be here every day, all day long. As long as AMA has that willingness to help students grow, I think we are moving in that direction, of course. That's it.
I think I have a better one step going forward, right? I think there are a lot of platforms available. I don't see AMA as a venue, right? Honestly, there are a lot of venues out there. I unfortunately have never been able to do an event of my own here, because my events, we usually have the singing performances, which is not allowed in the JB auditorium, which is why we've never done that. But I think where AMA can play a very, very big role is whatever debates are happening, right? Eventually taking it to the right authorities is where AMA's role comes in, right? With the connections and the networks and the members that AMA has, I think that whatever the young people, I think, like I said, if they also go and speak at any specific authority, they will be heard. But when it comes from an organization like AMA, who has such a rich legacy and heritage and credibility, I think taking that entire conversation that has happened in the venue, creating a report is something that the students can do, but sending out that report to the right authorities, reviewing them, helping the students frame it better, right? Because debates happen very impromptu. So sitting with those students to understand what has eventually happened, and then creating a report and sending it out to those right authorities, I think that's where AMA's biggest role is. I don't see AMA as a venue for us to come and do events. There are 100 venues available out there where events can happen, where events can end. But at AMA, if we're doing an event, I think AMA can sort of help these young students reach the right places and give them the right guidance that, okay, you've now done this discussion. Next step, do this.
Libby, can I also add?
Yeah, till the time it's not turning into a debate, absolutely.
No, no,
Please
no.
feel free to answer.
See, secondly, what I see AMA's role, because given its like the people who are associated with the Ahmedabad Management Association, the profiles they have, it is also now necessary to move this debate culture from a tier 1 city, from an urban city like Ahmedabad, to the rural areas. And I guess that's more important, because the first generation speakers, the first generation debaters are sitting in the schools or colleges. Still, they are not knowing about what the concept is. Because let's be very frank, this event was been published on a social media, was been sent on an email. So those people with an access of that social media and website or emails are able to come here. But what about the people who even don't have mobile phones, but they have the aspirations? Because that is the real India, what we are talking about. So given that thing, and given the reach of the members of this organization, I guess it is not difficult for them to reach to the rural areas, provide mentorship supports, because the stalwarts are sitting here, the speakers, everyone, the mentorship board, the advisory board is amazingly great. Okay, so they can prepare the next set of the debaters as well, the young generation, the first generation debaters who might have not even heard about what is debate culture. And I guess that brings, because AM has that credibility being built on the legacy, so that itself is very much important to see. We have the venue, we have the infrastructure, Rathin told, we have the power to send that ideas ahead to the people to act upon. Now we have to also bring the diverse opinions, the inclusivity. When we talk about, okay, that inclusivity should also come, so that it is very genuine and it does not look like it is a rehearsed confidence and everything like that. Yes, thank you.
Let AMA do an event like this in a rural city. We are more than happy to come again and talk.
I think that was my question to you, Krunal, which you already answered, that, how institutions like AMA can create inclusive speaking platforms, which I think has already been covered now. And the last question which I have from AMA over here is that how AMA can become a launch pad, for the next generation, the generation who wants to be confident, who wants to be responsible, and, who are willing to bring that change. But if you only focus on AMA, then how do you guys think that it can become a launch pad? Anybody who wants to go first?
All right. How many of you go to school? Raise your hands. Quick, 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 quick. How many of you go to schools? Raise your hands. Okay. How many of you go to college? Raise your hands. All right. How many of you are about 25? A couple of you. Lovely. So majority of the young people sitting here today, you are here, right? This is a start. The idea is to keep getting relevant individuals who are invested in youth development programs and have them on board. That will be the first step. Then structuring, understanding, and creating programs which actually help them is the second step. And once we have that base of young students willing to do something new, I think the third step would be to nudging them into the right direction by helping them connect with the right people, helping them mentor and prepare reports, as Ratin Bhai said. And I think step by step, we can do that. The first launchpad should be getting them at AMA first, having interacted with the faculties, with the prolific speakers, with the profiles that we have here. That will be the launch pad. And then it's up to them how they launch. So that'll be it.
Thank you, Aditya. Any of you?
I mean, I think this will be unfair to you and a few of us who sort of do events here. But whenever we get such prolific speakers, unlike us, let such young people sort of come and do an interaction with them, right? I think that's one way to sort of pull students to AMA as well, right? So let's say if we get, let's say, a Shashi Tharoor or a Dr. S. Somnath, they might not be as sort of prepared enough to have a conversation with them, but at least let's say a closed door interaction for 5 minutes also can leave such a big impact on these students that they would want to come back again to AMA for events that might just help them create a lot more impact, right? Because eventually, like I said, again, this is an applaud driven and a social media sensationalization generation. For them it might just be about that one picture, but eventually next time you call them, they will be there because they know that if I continue to be there, I will get more opportunities, right? So I think in that AMA, giving them that lollipop of sort of getting something out of this, you might just create a larger impact of other such events, right? It might just take away the limelight from people like you who sort of do those interactions, but that's where you can also play a role, right? Where instead of you doing it, you can probably coach 5 people out of here who can do the next moderation instead of you having to come here and do that, right? Because I think that's where we are creating real impact. I am happy to devote that time. If somebody wants to sort of learn and do the next interaction, I'm sure Unmesh Bhai is here. Unmesh sir can do this. And next time we have some speaker, might as well. How many of you, anybody who wants to volunteer here? Right? So we have 4 hands here. Next time we have an event sometime, let's call these guys, right? And they can sort of do this interaction with those young, not young people, but then, they will understand how difficult it is. Right? Like it might be very, very fascinating कि यार ये लोग वहाँ पे शशि थरूर के साथ बैठ के बात कर रहे हैं, मैं भी तो कर सकता हूँ. But let you go there and ask a question and let Shashi Tharoor just answer it off in 1 minute, and then your questions have ended. कि अब क्या पूछूं मैं, right? Like, and that's when you will also realize, that's when you will also have them invested in AMA. So I think that's something that we can for sure do. That's one recommendation that I have. So anything, Kunal?
And also from my side, of course, I don't know how many of you know, but for example, this is an open forum event. Such many open forum events are happening at Ahmedabad Management Association. Let me tell you, if I had the privilege of listening to Shashi Tharoor, it was because of AMA. If I was having the privilege to listening to Anand Ranganathan, it was because of AMA. And many such Gyan Vatsal Swami, many such speakers, it was because of AMA. Because let's see this organization not as a organization who is doing events and everything, but who is sharing knowledge. Because many times what happens is, in the era of this social media, we have too much of knowledge, but we are listening it digitally, we are listening it virtually. Let us listen it from the first hand experience of the person who is actually implementing it, or who is actually into it. So at that point of time, Ahmedabad Management Association has, a legacy of speakers and everything. They can help in curating such programs for the young people. Let me tell you, Unmesh sir would remember, we did a Ahmedabad Youth Dialogue. It was the first edition of the Ahmedabad Youth Dialogue. We did it in AMM, and it was a super hit thing. We had a very unique things coming, because what a creator economy is looking like, what is an entrepreneurship looking like, what is a spirituality in day to day life is looking like. And Mindwell, the audience, like the capacity of JB Auditorium was 400. We had 1,000 people sitting in this itself. The campus 400 inside JB Auditorium. Rest all the rooms where the live telecast was going on. That's where we have to work together to bring such unique perspectives, so that the young people can learn from it. And I can see from that event also, many people have now become leaders of their own, because they have heard, they have listened to these things. And it is very much obvious for them also to know that, like, if I act right now, then the time is very less, then I will also be on the stage. So I guess this is the aura which the GOAT aura which AMA carries, and I guess that should be carried out. Yeah.
Thank
just,
you.
Just one small addition to this. I think, and one suggestion which probably, Unmesh sir can also sort of implement. Let these guys sort of organize the next big event that we are having, right? I think that's very, very important, right? While you might see the glam and the glamour that's on stage when such a big speaker comes to speak, but what goes behind that stage is something that only the people who are behind know, right? Like, I still vividly remember, we were hosting Somnath ji, right? And that session was not supposed to happen in JB Auditorium. I think we had called Krunal also and said, "Ke bhai, share this across. Somnath sir is coming," but and that was at what 11 o'clock in the morning that we met. Somnath ji was already in Ahmedabad by that time. He was supposed to come in and do this at 6:30. But mind you, right, and this is something that you can learn when you are a part of the organizing team as well. 11:30 we were sitting at what 200 odd registrations, 120 odd registrations. 6:30 when Somnath sir walked in, it was a full house. There was no space. There were people sitting on stairs, right? So how did they do that? How did that happen? Nobody knows. I also don't know, because I was with Somnath ji. So I came and told Unmesh sir ke bhai, matlab sir ye kaise hua, right? So that only he will know, right? So let's say for some events, you guys can just volunteer, right? Today, go and tell the AMA team that next event you are doing, I am happy to volunteer, right? And don't do it for that certificate. Do it for that experience that you get out of it, to understand. And mind you, I will tell you, the day you've organized an event from scratch and you've been a part of the end-to-end process, and that event happens successfully, I think that's the best feeling that you can get out of it. उस दिन इतनी अच्छी नींद आएगी, you can't even imagine, right? So probably volunteer and do that for EMA next time.
And when you get a first hand experience, Mindwell, when you get a first hand experience na, let me tell you, आपको कोई भी चैट जीपीटी से अपनी स्क्रिप्ट लिखने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, बिकॉज अंदर से जो आएगा ना, वो आपका एक्सपीरियंस बोल रहा होगा. So take that first hand experience, approach people कि भाई मुझे ये करना है, and I guess there are many people to support you. यहाँ पे आइए, सीखिए, and I guess you will get that first hand experience how an event can be done. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and very well put together, because a lot of times when I get platforms and opportunities like this to moderate with, so much of talent that the country has, I feel life has come to a full circle for me also, because I am also an Ahmedabadi, born and brought up here. And while growing up, while I was in school, I used to be on those chairs. I have probably attended so many courses over here, whether it's in summer, Christmas, probably in the weekends, the 9 to 5 courses, 10 to 5 courses. And now probably 10 years down the line, when I get a call that if you can come and, kind of ask questions, moderate, I also coach over here. I feel that life has come to a full circle, and now AMA is giving me that platform. So for me, from my teens till today, AMA has always been giving me that platform where every event, whether I attended in the past or now I am here, I'm always learning something and going back. So I feel if you're always associated, like he very rightly said, as a volunteer also, if you're always associated with an organization for the longest period of time, you never know, the life will come back and form a full circle for you, and you might be just on the opposite side. And I also equally correlate with the whole event part he said. I mean, that has been like my bread and butter for X number of years, not just as a planner, but even as an anchor. When you are there on the stage and it looks so lovely, you go and say, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," and it's a pleasure to welcome you all. And backstage, 5 people from event team are actually fighting that एक बुके कम पड़ रहा है, एक मिनिस्टर के वहां से कोई एक्स्ट्रा आ गए हैं जो लिस्ट में नहीं थे हमारे, right? And you get the change of designations every hour as an anchor also. So I completely get it, and that's actually the sweetest sleep you can get that night. So I think one quick lesson I've absolutely learned is that be associated to an organization, volunteer as much as you can, take parts in debates, and not necessarily you will win, but it will also help you to form a personality that your younger version would have never imagined, probably when you were 10 or 12 years. Can we have a big round of applause for all our panelists over here? Thank you. And I have this lovely book that AMA has gifted me, but I want Mr. Unmesh to please join us, and if you can do the honor and present a small token of gratitude to our panelist over here. We are glad you could make it. Thank you. He came all the way from Surat. I know he was stuck in the traffic. Thank you. And I request you to, present. Thank you for taking out your time, being over here.
Possible, I'd request the team as well to click a picture with us. Right. Turning Point team, if you guys can come on stage once, we have a picture. Right. Yeah, that is important.
And while they're coming here, thank you to each and everyone who joined us on this evening. I hope you all have your own set of takeaways, and looking forward to many more sessions. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lippy. You're wonderful. Guys, we'll just click a group picture. आगे आ जाओ. Guys, आम आ जाओ. अदर आ जाओ. उनमें सर